Marcus Chen stared at the glowing invitation in his hands. The text shifted colors as he read it, moving from blue to gold to silver. He had never seen anything like it before. A wedding invitation, he said to himself, sitting in his small office on Zarian Prime space station. The office was cramped, but had a nice view of the docking bays, where ships from across the galaxy came and went every day. The invitation was from HFY, a crystalline merchant Marcus had helped 6 months ago. The crystallines looked like walking gemstones and spoke in musical tones. HFY had needed help understanding human trade laws when he wanted to buy coffee beans from Earth. Marcus spent weeks explaining the paperwork, and they became friends. Now HFY was getting married on Velthara, a luxury moon known for its beautiful atmosphere and expensive resorts. Marcus felt honored to be invited, but also nervous. He was probably the only human who would be there. Marcus worked as a cultural liaison for the Terran Embassy. His job was to help humans and aliens understand each other better. It was not always easy. Humans had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago, and many aliens still thought humans were strange. Emotionally chaotic, his boss called humans. Too much feeling, too much noise. Marcus did not think this was true, but he understood why aliens might feel that way. Humans laughed loudly, cried openly, and hugged people they barely knew. Most alien species were much more controlled in how they showed their feelings. He picked up his communication device and called his boss, Director Walsh. "Marcus," Walsh said when her face appeared on the screen. She was a serious woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "What can I do for you?" "I got an invitation to an alien wedding on Velthara," Marcus said, showing her the glowing paper. "HFY, the crystalline merchant I helped with the coffee trade deal." Walsh raised her eyebrows. "Velthara? That is a very expensive place, and very political. Are you sure you want to go?" "I think I should. It could be good for human relations. Or it could be a disaster," Walsh said. "Remember the last time a human went to an alien celebration? Ambassador Kim danced on a table and accidentally insulted 3 different species." Marcus winced. He remembered that incident. Ambassador Kim had thought he was being friendly, but the aliens saw his dancing as a mating display. It took weeks to fix the diplomatic problems that followed. "I will be careful," Marcus promised. Walsh sighed. "Fine, but remember you will represent all of humanity there. Do not do anything embarrassing. Do not touch anyone without permission. Do not eat or drink anything unless you are sure it is safe for humans. And whatever you do, do not dance." "No dancing. Got it." "Good. And Marcus, take some emergency medical supplies. Alien food can do strange things to human stomachs." After ending the call, Marcus looked at the invitation again. The wedding would be in 5 days. He had never been to Velthara before, but he had heard stories. The moon had 3 purple suns and clouds that sparkled like diamonds. The gravity was lighter than Earth, making everyone feel like they could fly. He started planning what to bring. His best formal clothes, a translation device, medical supplies, and gifts for the couple. Humans usually brought gifts to weddings, but he was not sure what crystallines would want. Maybe some Earth music? HFY had seemed interested in human songs. Over the next few days, Marcus studied everything he could about crystalline wedding traditions. The ceremonies could last for hours and involved complex harmonic singing. Family members from both sides would share stories about the couple by creating light patterns in the air. There would be hundreds of guests from many different species. The night before he left, Marcus called his sister Jenny on Earth. "A space wedding?" she said, excited. "That sounds amazing. Will there be alien food?" "Probably. I am a little nervous about eating it." "You will be fine. Remember when we were kids and you were scared to try sushi? Now it is your favorite food." Marcus smiled. Jenny always knew how to make him feel better. "Just be yourself," she continued. That is what you are good at, making friends with people, even when they are different from you. Thanks, Jenny. I needed to hear that. The next morning, Marcus took a transport ship to Velthara. The trip took 8 hours, and he spent most of it reading about the other species that would be at the wedding. There would be tentacled Aquarians who breathed water, floating gaseous beings who communicated through color changes, and many others he had never met before. When the ship approached Velthara, Marcus pressed his face to the window. The moon was even more beautiful than the pictures. The surface was covered with crystal formations that caught the light from the 3 suns. Floating palaces drifted through the sparkling clouds, connected by bridges of solid light. The spaceport was busy with ships arriving for the wedding. Marcus saw vessels he did not recognize, with designs that seemed impossible. One ship looked like it was made of liquid metal. Another appeared to be growing like a plant, with branches instead of engines. As he walked through the spaceport, Marcus noticed other wedding guests. A group of tall, thin aliens with silver skin walked by, their feet not quite touching the ground. 2 creatures that looked like walking trees discussed something in a language that sounded like wind through leaves. Marcus felt very small and very human. His brown hair and average height made him stand out among the exotic aliens around him, but he also felt excited. This was why he loved his job. Every day brought new experiences and new friends. He took a transport to his hotel, a floating crystal structure that moved slowly through the clouds. His room had a view of 3 waterfalls that flowed upward instead of down, defying gravity in the moon's unique environment. That evening, Marcus tried on his formal clothes and practiced introducing himself in several alien languages. Tomorrow would be the wedding, and he wanted to make a good impression. As he watched the 3 purple suns set through his window, Marcus felt ready for whatever came next. He had no idea that this wedding would change his life forever, or that he would meet someone who would make him question everything he thought he knew about love, friendship, and what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of wonders. The wedding ceremony took place in floating crystal pavilions that drifted among the sparkling clouds of Velthara. Marcus had never seen anything so beautiful or confusing in his life. He sat in a section marked for honored guests, trying to follow what was happening. The crystalline bride, Lithara, stood in the center of a circular platform that rotated slowly. Her body caught the light from the 3 purple suns and threw rainbows in every direction. The groom, HFY, sang to her in harmonious tones that made Marcus feel peaceful and happy. Around them, wedding guests from 23 different species participated in ways Marcus did not understand. The gaseous beings changed colors in patterns that seemed to tell a story. The Aquarians made bubble sculptures that floated in the air. A group of rock-like aliens hummed so low that Marcus felt it in his bones. Marcus tried to be respectful, but he kept making mistakes. When everyone else stood and raised their hands, he stood too. But apparently he was supposed to keep his palms down, not up. When the tentacled guests began swaying, Marcus swayed with them, but he was going the wrong direction. A small alien with blue fur sitting next to him whispered, "You are doing fine, human. Your enthusiasm is charming." "Really?" Marcus whispered back. "I feel like I am ruining everything." "Not at all. We can sense your joy for the couple. It is quite pleasant." Marcus felt better after that. Maybe being human was not so bad, even if he did not understand all the customs. The ceremony lasted 3 hours. There were music exchanges where both families sang together, light displays that told the story of how the couple met, and a ritual where guests gave energy to bless the marriage. Marcus was not sure how to give energy, so he just thought happy thoughts about HFY and hoped that would work. When it was over, everyone moved to another floating pavilion for the reception. This space was even larger, with dance floors, food stations, and quiet areas where guests could talk. Marcus was amazed by the variety of aliens around him. Some had too many arms, some had no arms at all. Some were tiny and floated in the air. Others were huge and had to duck under the ceiling. The food was strange, but delicious. Marcus tried small amounts of everything, remembering Director Walsh's warnings about alien cuisine. Most of it tasted good, though one purple fruit made his tongue tingle for 10 minutes. As the evening continued, Marcus noticed music starting in different areas of the pavilion. Each species seemed to have their own way of celebrating. The rock aliens hummed together in deep voices. The gaseous beings pulsed with light in rhythm. The tree-like creatures rustled their branches like wind instruments. Marcus watched it all with wonder, but he also felt a little lonely. He was the only human there, and while everyone was friendly, he did not really fit into any of the groups. That was when he noticed her. She stood alone on a moonlit terrace at the edge of the pavilion, away from the celebration. Even from a distance, Marcus could tell she was beautiful, but in a way that was different from the other aliens. She looked almost human, but not quite. Her skin was very pale, almost white, and her dark hair seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. She was tall and thin, wearing a flowing dress that moved like water. She also looked sad. Marcus walked over to the terrace. The woman was leaning against the railing, looking out at the purple moons in the sky. Up close, he could see that her eyes were an unusual color, like silver with flecks of starlight. "Are you all right?" Marcus asked. She turned to look at him, and he saw surprise in her eyes. "You are the human," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, but with an accent he could not place. "Marcus Chen," he said, offering his hand. "And you are?" She looked at his hand for a moment before shaking it gently. "Seraphina." "I am Nyxtherian." Marcus had never heard of that species before. "Nyxtherian, I do not think I know your people." "Most do not," Seraphina said. "We keep to ourselves. Other species often fear us because of what we must do to survive." "What do you mean?" Seraphina hesitated, then said, "My people feed on life energy, the emotional essence of other beings. Many call us vampires, though we do not drink blood as your Earth stories suggest." Marcus was surprised, but not frightened. In his job, he had met many aliens with unusual needs. "That sounds difficult. Do you hurt people when you feed?" "Usually, yes. A little. That is why I stay away from crowds like this," Seraphina said, gesturing toward the party. "I do not want to accidentally drain someone's energy while they are trying to enjoy themselves." "Is that why you look sad?" Seraphina smiled, and Marcus thought it was the most beautiful smile he had ever seen. "You are very direct, Marcus Chen. Yes, I am sad. I am also lonely. It is hard to make friends when touching someone might harm them." Marcus thought about this. What if someone did not mind? What if they wanted to help you? That is a kind thought, but it does not work that way. Feeding on someone weakens them, makes them tired and sick. I would never ask someone to suffer for my needs. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the celebration inside. Marcus could see aliens dancing in ways that seemed impossible, floating and spinning and moving like liquid. "Your people dance differently than mine," Seraphina observed. "How do your people dance?" "We do not, usually. Dancing is for mating rituals or religious ceremonies. Very serious things." Marcus grinned. "Humans dance for fun, just because it feels good." "Just for joy?" Seraphina sounded amazed by the idea. "Would you like me to show you?" Marcus asked, feeling brave. Maybe it was the alien wine he had tried earlier, or maybe it was just that Seraphina seemed so lonely. "I could not. If I touch you too much, I might hurt you." "What if we try just for a minute? If I feel weak, we will stop immediately." Seraphina looked uncertain, but Marcus could see curiosity in her silver eyes. "You would risk that? For a chance to dance with a beautiful woman under alien moons?" "Absolutely," Serafina laughed, and the sound was like silver bells. You are either very brave or very foolish, Marcus Chen. Maybe both. There was no music on the terrace, but Marcus could hear the rhythms from inside the pavilion. He offered Serafina his hand again. May I have this dance? After a long moment, she took his hand. Marcus showed her how to waltz, starting with simple steps. He put one hand on her waist and held her other hand gently. Just follow my lead, he said. They started slowly, just swaying back and forth. Serafina was a quick learner, and soon they were moving around the terrace in smooth circles. The purple moonlight made everything look magical. As they danced, Marcus felt something strange happening. Instead of getting weaker, he felt more alive, more energetic. It was like Serafina was giving him energy instead of taking it. Serafina gasped and stopped dancing. This is impossible, she whispered. What is? You are not getting weaker. You are getting stronger. I can feel your life force, and it is growing brighter, not dimmer. Marcus looked down at their joined hands. Is that bad? I have never felt anything like this before, Serafina said, wonder in her voice. With other species, I take their energy, and they become tired. But with you, it is like your energy creates more energy. The more I touch you, the brighter you become. So I am not going to get sick? No, Serafina said, shaking her head in amazement. You are going to feel wonderful. Marcus smiled. Then shall we continue dancing? Serafina smiled back, and this time it was not sad at all. Yes, please. They danced until the 3 purple moons were high in the sky, spinning and laughing and talking about their different worlds. Marcus told Serafina about Earth and humans and why they loved to dance. Serafina told him about her planet, where night lasted for months and her people moved like shadows through crystal cities. When they finally stopped, both were breathing hard and grinning widely. Thank you, Serafina said. I have not felt this happy in years. Thank you for the best dance of my life, Marcus replied. Neither of them knew that other guests had noticed them dancing together, or that news of the human who could feed a Nyx-Therian without harm was already spreading through the wedding party. All they knew was that something wonderful had begun under the light of alien moons. The next morning, Marcus woke up feeling better than he had in months. His room in the floating hotel was filled with purple sunlight, and he could hear the gentle humming of the crystal structures around him. He had expected to be tired after staying up late dancing with Serafina, but instead he felt full of energy. There was a message waiting on his communication device. It was from Serafina, asking if he would like to explore Velthara with her during the day. Marcus smiled and quickly sent back a yes. They met in the hotel lobby, and Marcus was struck again by how beautiful Serafina was. In the daylight, her pale skin seemed to glow softly, and her dark hair moved like liquid shadow. She wore simple clothes, but she moved with a grace that made everyone around her stop and stare. How do you feel this morning? She asked as they walked out into the sparkling air of Velthara. Amazing, Marcus said honestly. Better than I have felt in a long time. How about you? Serafina smiled. The same. Usually after feeding, I feel satisfied but a little guilty. This time I just feel happy. They spent the morning exploring the floating gardens of Velthara. The moon's low gravity made it possible for plants to grow in impossible ways, with trees that twisted through the air and flowers that floated like balloons. Serafina explained that her people came from a dark world where plants grew deep underground. She had never seen anything like Velthara's aerial gardens before. Marcus told her about Earth's forests and oceans, trying to paint pictures with words of blue skies and green grass. Serafina listened with wide eyes, asking questions about things she had never imagined. Your people sound very connected to their world, she said as they sat beside a fountain that sprayed liquid light instead of water. Some are, Marcus said, but humans are also good at adapting. We can live almost anywhere if we have to. That is probably why we have been able to make friends with so many alien species. Is that what you think humans do best? Make friends? Marcus thought about it. Maybe. We are not the strongest or the smartest species in the galaxy, but we seem to be good at understanding others and finding common ground. Serafina was quiet for a moment. My people are not good at that. We are often alone because others fear us. Even our own families arrange marriages for political reasons rather than love. Is that what happened to you? Marcus asked gently. Serafina nodded. I was supposed to marry a nobleman named Vorthak to create an alliance between our houses, but I refused and left my world. My family has not spoken to me since. That must have been hard. It was, but I could not marry someone I did not love just to make my family powerful. She looked at Marcus. Do humans marry for love? Usually, Marcus said. Not always, but most of the time we try to marry people who make us happy. That seems much better than our way. They continued exploring, visiting crystal caves and anti-gravity pools where they could float in warm, glowing water. Everywhere they went, other aliens stared at them. Marcus thought it was because he was human, but he noticed the stares were focused on Serafina. Why is everyone looking at us? He asked during lunch at a restaurant that served food on plates made of solid music. Serafina looked uncomfortable. Word has spread about what happened when we danced. Other Nyxtherians have heard that I found someone I can feed on without causing harm. Is that so unusual? Marcus, it has never happened before in the entire history of my people. We have studied thousands of species, and all of them are weakened when we feed. You are the first being we have ever encountered whose life energy grows stronger when shared. Marcus put down his fork. The food suddenly tasted less interesting. What does that mean? I am not sure, but I am worried that others will want to study you or use you somehow. As if summoned by her words, a group of tall, pale figures approached their table. Marcus recognized them as Nyxtherians, like Serafina, but their clothes were more formal and their expressions were stern. The leader was a man with sharp features and cold silver eyes. He looked at Marcus like he was examining a particularly interesting insect. Serafina, the man said in a voice like winter wind, you have been difficult to find. Vorthak, Serafina replied, her voice tight with tension. I did not know you were on Velthara. I came as soon as I heard the news. You have found something remarkable. Vorthak's eyes moved to Marcus. A human whose life force does not diminish when fed upon. Do you realize what this means? It means I have found a friend, Serafina said firmly. It means you have found a solution to our people's greatest problem, Vorthak corrected. For thousands of years, we have been limited by the need to feed carefully, sparingly, to avoid killing our hosts. But if humans can provide energy without being harmed... Marcus stood up. Excuse me, but I am sitting right here. Maybe you could talk to me instead of about me. Vorthak looked surprised, as if he had forgotten Marcus could speak. Of course. Human. I am Lord Vorthak of House Nyxthyros. I understand you have unusual properties that could benefit my people. My name is Marcus Chen, and I am here as a friend of Serafina's. I am not interested in being studied or used by anyone. Perhaps you do not understand the situation, Vorthak said, his voice growing colder. Your species has only recently joined the galactic community. You need allies, protection. We could provide that in exchange for a small number of humans willing to help our people survive. You want to turn humans into food sources, Marcus said, feeling anger rise in his chest. We prefer the term energy partners, Vorthak replied smoothly. It would be a mutually beneficial relationship. Humans would have the protection of the Nixtherian Empire, and we would have access to sustainable energy sources. Serafina stood up beside Marcus. Vorthak, stop this. Marcus is not a resource to be exploited. Serafina, you are being emotional. Think about our people. We could end centuries of hunger and isolation. All it would require is cooperation from the humans. And if the humans refuse to cooperate? Marcus asked. Vorthak smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. The Galactic Council has procedures for dealing with species that possess resources necessary for the survival of others. Humans could be classified as a protected species, with special status ensuring their care and preservation. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Protected species? That sounds like a fancy way of saying slaves. Not slaves, Vorthak said. More like carefully managed livestock. Serafina made a sound like a hiss. Vorthak, you go too far. Do I? Serafina, you have been away from our world too long. You do not understand how desperate our situation has become. We are dying slowly, unable to feed properly without causing harm. This human represents hope for our entire species. More Nixtherians had gathered around their table, and Marcus could see that other wedding guests were starting to notice the commotion. Some looked curious, others looked worried. I think this conversation is over, Marcus said, taking Serafina's hand. Serafina, would you like to leave? Yes, she said quickly. But as they tried to walk away, Vorthak called out loudly enough for everyone in the restaurant to hear, Marcus Chen of Earth, I challenge you to a ritual of worth for the right to claim Serafina as my bonded mate and you as a resource for my people. The entire restaurant went silent. Marcus could feel hundreds of alien eyes staring at them. What is a ritual of worth? Marcus asked Serafina quietly. Her face was pale with worry. It is an old Nixtherian tradition, a contest to determine who has the right to something valuable. If Vorthak wins, he can claim both of us under ancient law. And if I win, we go free. But Marcus, no one has ever defeated a Nixtherian lord in a ritual of worth. They are trained from childhood in combat, strategy, and psychic manipulation. Marcus looked around at all the staring faces. He thought about Director Walsh's warnings about not embarrassing humanity. He thought about his sister Jenny telling him to be himself. He thought about Serafina's sad smile from the night before, and how happy she had looked while they were dancing. I accept your challenge, Marcus said loudly. Vorthak smiled like a predator. Excellent. The ritual will take place tomorrow at sunset. 3 trials. Strength, wisdom, and spirit. Prepare yourself, human. Your entire species' future may depend on how well you perform. As the Nixtherians walked away, Serafina gripped Marcus's hand tightly. What have you done? She whispered. Something probably very stupid, Marcus admitted, but I could not let him threaten you or my people. Marcus, you do not understand. If you lose, humanity could become enslaved to my people. Marcus looked at her frightened face and made a decision that would change everything. Then I guess I had better not lose. Marcus spent the night before the ritual of worth trying not to panic. Serafina had explained the 3 trials in detail, and none of them sounded good for him. The trial of strength would be a physical contest. Vorthak was taller, stronger, and had trained his whole life for combat. Marcus worked out sometimes, but he was just a regular human facing an alien warrior. The trial of wisdom would be a debate about philosophy and leadership. Vorthak had centuries of education and experience ruling his people. Marcus had a college degree and 5 years of diplomatic work. The trial of spirit was the most mysterious. Serafina said it tested the deepest qualities of a person's character, but the exact nature of the trial was always different. No one knew what form it would take. I could run away, Marcus said as they sat on the hotel balcony, watching the 3 purple moons rise. Just leave Velthara tonight and go back to my job. Vorthak would follow, Serafina said sadly. And he would use my refusal to return with him as evidence that humans are a corrupting influence. The Galactic Council would side with him. Marcus took her hand. Even now he felt that strange energy flowing between them, making him feel stronger and more alive. Tell me about your people, he said. What do they really need? Serafina was quiet for a long time. We need connection, she finally said. For thousands of years, we have been alone because we hurt everyone we try to love. We feed on others, but we can never truly bond with them. It has made us cold, calculating, focused only on survival. But you are not cold. I am different. That is why I left. I wanted to feel connected to someone, to belong somewhere. She squeezed his hand. When we danced, I felt what my people have been missing for so long. Joy, warmth, sharing without harm. If Vorthak could understand that, maybe he can, Marcus said, an idea beginning to form. Serafina, in the trial of spirit, are there any rules about what I can do? No rules. The trial reveals who you truly are. Why? Marcus smiled. Because I think I know how to win. The next evening, half the wedding guests had gathered to watch the ritual of worth. Word had spread across Velthara about the contest between the human and the Nyxtherian lord. The ceremony took place in a large arena made of floating crystal platforms. Vorthak stood on one side wearing formal battle armor that gleamed like black metal. Marcus stood opposite him in his simple earth clothes, looking very small and human. The judge was an ancient crystalline elder whose body had grown so large and complex that she needed a special platform to hold her weight. Her voice rang like temple bells when she spoke. "We gather for the ritual of worth," she announced. "Lord Vorthak claims the right to bonded mate Serafina and to study the human as a resource. Marcus Chen challenges this claim." Let the trials begin. The trial of strength was held in a smaller arena. The contest was simple. Whoever could lift and carry a massive stone block, the farthest would win. Marcus looked at the stone block, which was twice his height and probably weighed more than a small car. Vorthak lifted it with effort, but carried it 50 meters before setting it down. When Marcus's turn came, he could barely budge the block. The crowd murmured as he struggled. But then Marcus did something unexpected. He turned to the audience. "I cannot lift this stone alone," he called out. "But humans believe in teamwork. Is anyone willing to help me?" Vorthak protested. "This is not how the trial works." "There are no rules against receiving help," the crystalline judge observed. "The trial tests strength. It does not specify that the strength must be only your own." To Marcus's amazement, HFY stepped forward. "I will help my human friend," the crystalline merchant said. His crystal body was incredibly strong. Then the blue-furred alien from the wedding ceremony joined them. "The human has shown kindness to all species," he said. "I will lend my strength." More aliens came forward. The tree-like beings, the rock people, even some of the floating gaseous creatures. Together they lifted the stone block and carried it 300 meters, far beyond what Vorthak had achieved alone. Vorthak's face was dark with anger, but he could not argue with the result. The trial of wisdom took place in a debate hall. The question was, what makes a leader worthy to guide others? Vorthak spoke first. A leader must be strong, intelligent, and willing to make hard decisions for the survival of his people. "I have led my house for 3 centuries. I have made alliances, won wars, and ensured our survival in a hostile galaxy. I am worthy because I have proven my worth through action and time." It was a good speech. Many in the audience nodded in agreement. Marcus stood up for his turn. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. "Vorthak is right that leaders need to make hard decisions," he began. "But I think a true leader is someone who serves others, not someone who uses them. A worthy leader listens to different viewpoints, brings people together, and finds solutions that help everyone, not just his own group." He looked around at the diverse crowd of aliens. "Here on Velthara, I have seen many different species working together. You all have different needs, different ways of communicating, different cultures, but you found ways to celebrate together at Zeph-Hi and Lithara's wedding. That happened because people chose cooperation over domination." Marcus turned to face Vorthak directly. "You want to solve your people's hunger by enslaving humans. But what happens after that? Do you enslave the next species that has something you need? When does it end?" He looked back at the audience. "I am not a leader of any people. I am just a human who believes that different species can be friends and help each other willingly. I think that makes me more worthy to protect Seraphina's freedom than someone who sees her as property and my people as resources." The crowd was very quiet when he finished. Even Vorthak looked thoughtful. The judge declared the trial of wisdom a tie, since both had spoken with conviction about their beliefs. This meant everything depended on the trial of spirit. For the final trial, the crystalline judge announced, "Each contestant must demonstrate the true nature of their character through action. You have 1 hour to show us who you really are." Vorthak immediately began demonstrating his psychic powers, creating illusions of light and shadow that showed his victories and achievements. The display was impressive and intimidating. Marcus had a different plan. He walked to the center of the arena and called out to everyone present, "I want to show you something humans call a dance, but I need help from all of you." "A dance?" Vorthak said scornfully. "This is supposed to demonstrate spirit, not entertainment." "Dancing is how humans connect with each other," Marcus replied. "It is how we share joy and create bonds across any difference." He gestured to the crowd. "Every species here moves differently, communicates differently, celebrates differently. But what if we could all move together? What if we could create something beautiful that none of us could make alone?" Seraphina was the first to join him, taking his hand and beginning the waltz steps he had taught her. Other aliens began to move in their own ways. The crystallines created harmonic music. The gaseous beings pulsed with light and rhythm. The tree creatures rustled and swayed. The rock people provided a steady beat with their humming. What started as a simple dance became something magical. Each species contributed their own style of movement and music, creating a celebration unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The energy was so powerful that even the watching aliens began to sway and move. Marcus felt the same sensation he had experienced while dancing with Seraphina, but amplified 100 times. Energy flowed between all the participants, not draining anyone, but somehow creating more joy and connection for everyone involved. Even some of the Nyxtherians in the crowd began to move tentatively, drawn by the infectious happiness of the moment. When the dance finally ended, the entire arena was glowing with a soft, warm light that seemed to come from the combined life energy of all the participants. Vorthak stood alone in his section of the arena, looking stunned. For the first time since Marcus had met him, the Nyxtherian Lord looked uncertain. The crystalline judge's voice rang out clear and bright. "I have seen demonstrations of power, wisdom, and character, but I have never seen anything like what just occurred. Marcus Chen, you have shown that true strength comes from bringing others together, that true wisdom comes from finding solutions that benefit all, and that the greatest spirit is one that creates joy and connection across all barriers." She turned to Vorthak. "Lord Vorthak, you have shown impressive individual achievement. But can you create what this human just created? Can you bring different peoples together in harmony? Vorthak looked at the crowd of aliens, many of whom were still glowing softly from the shared dance. He looked at his own people, some of whom had participated despite centuries of training to remain aloof. For a long moment, he was silent. Then he did something that shocked everyone. He bowed to Marcus. "I have been wrong," Vorthak said quietly. "I thought power meant control, but what you have shown here, this is a power I do not possess. The power to create connection instead of taking it." He looked at Serafina. "You were right to leave our world. We have forgotten what it means to truly live instead of merely survive." Vorthak turned to address the entire crowd. "I withdraw my claim," he announced. "Serafina is free to choose her own path, and I formally request that the Nixtherian Empire enter into friendship negotiations with humanity, not as masters and resources, but as equals seeking mutual understanding." The arena erupted in cheers and harmonic singing and color displays from dozens of different species. Marcus felt his legs give out from relief and exhaustion. Serafina caught him and held him tight. "You did it," she whispered in his ear. "You saved us all." "We did it," Marcus corrected, looking around at all their alien friends, "all of us together." And as the 3 purple moons rose over Velthara, Marcus realized that sometimes the best way to win was to make sure everyone could win together. 6 months after the Ritual of Worth, Marcus stood in a new office on Xerion Prime space station. The room was much larger than his old office, with windows that showed the busy docking bays where ships from hundreds of worlds arrived daily. But what made him happiest was the sign on his door: Director of Interspecies Cultural Exchange. His communication device buzzed with an incoming call from Director Walsh. "Marcus," she said when her face appeared on the screen. Her stern expression had been replaced by something that might have been pride. "How are preparations for the festival going?" "Better than expected," Marcus said, looking at the organized chaos of his office. Charts showing different alien celebration customs covered the walls. His desk was buried under gift samples from dozens of species. "We have confirmed participation from 87 different worlds." 87? Walsh raised her eyebrows. "That is more than most diplomatic summits." "Apparently, everyone wants to learn how to dance," Marcus said with a grin. The festival had been Serafina's idea. After Velthara, requests had poured in from across the galaxy for humans to teach their connection techniques. Instead of sending individual teachers to different worlds, they decided to create a massive cultural exchange event where everyone could come together. "Any problems I should know about?" Walsh asked. "Well, the tentacled Aquarians insist on bringing their own water for their dance pools. The crystallines want to create harmonic platforms that might interfere with station communications, and the gaseous beings need special atmospheric controls. Sounds like normal diplomatic challenges. The good news is that everyone is excited to participate. Even species that have never gotten along before are working together to plan combined presentations." Walsh nodded approvingly. "And Serafina? How is she adjusting to her new role?" Marcus looked through his office window to the cultural center across the way, where Serafina was leading a meeting with representatives from 12 different species. She wore formal diplomatic clothes now, but she still moved with that fluid grace that had caught his attention at the wedding. "She is perfect for the job," Marcus said. "Turns out having a unique perspective on what different species need makes her an excellent mediator." After Vorthak's dramatic change of heart, the Nixtherian Empire had officially appointed Serafina as their ambassador to the new cultural exchange program. She had been hesitant at first, worried that her exile made her unsuitable. But when several other species specifically requested her as a mediator, she accepted. "What about Vorthak?" Walsh asked. "Is he still cooperating?" "More than cooperating. He has become one of our strongest supporters." He says learning about human emotional connection has changed how the Nyxtherians interact with each other. This was true. In the months since Velthara, Vorthak had returned to his world and begun teaching other Nyxtherians about what he called symbiotic energy exchange. Instead of feeding on others in a way that drained them, they were learning to create mutual connections that benefited everyone involved. It was not as simple as what happened between humans and Nyxtherians, but it was a start. "The Galactic Council is pleased," Walsh said. "Several member species have reported improved relations since their people started participating in human cultural programs." "It is amazing how much changes when people just take time to understand each other," Marcus said. After ending the call, Marcus walked over to the cultural center. The main hall was buzzing with activity as representatives from different species worked together to plan the festival. He paused in the doorway, watching aliens who had never spoken to each other before sharing ideas and laughing together. Seraphina noticed him and smiled, excusing herself from her meeting to walk over. "How did your call with Director Walsh go?" she asked, taking his hand. The energy that flowed between them was as strong as ever, but now it felt natural, like breathing. "Good. She wanted to know if we were ready for 87 different species to descend on Xerion Prime next week." "Are we?" Marcus looked around at the controlled chaos of aliens working together. "I think so." "What about your meeting?" "The floating jellyfish people and the Rock Mountain clan have agreed to collaborate on a dance that combines air currents and earth vibrations. 6 months ago, they could not be in the same room together. Because of the trade dispute over mining rights? That, and the fact that they thought each other's cultures were boring," Seraphina said with amusement. "Turns out they just needed to find a way to share their art." They walked together through the cultural center, checking on different groups. In one room, crystalline musicians were teaching tree-like aliens how to create harmonics with rustling leaves. In another, human volunteers were showing various species' basic dance steps, with mixed but enthusiastic results. "Marcus," Seraphina said as they watched a group of tentacled aliens attempt to waltz, "do you ever regret accepting Vorthak's challenge?" Marcus thought about it. 6 months ago, he had been a simple cultural liaison with a small office and a quiet life. Now he was responsible for organizing the largest interspecies cultural event in galactic history. His relationship with an alien vampire was constantly studied by scientists and diplomats. His every action was watched as an example of human-alien cooperation. "No," he said honestly. "Do you regret leaving your world?" Seraphina smiled. "Not for a single moment." As they continued their tour, Marcus noticed a familiar figure approaching. HFY, the crystalline merchant whose wedding had started everything, walked over with his new wife, Lithara. "Marcus! Seraphina!" HFY's musical voice was full of joy. "We wanted to thank you before the festival begins." "Thank us for what?" Marcus asked. "For showing us what our wedding truly meant," Lithara said, her crystal body creating rainbow patterns as she spoke. "We thought we were just joining two people, but you showed us that we were celebrating the possibility of connection across all differences." "Your wedding was beautiful without any help from us," Seraphina said. "Yes, but what happened after? The dancing, the energy sharing, the way different species came together. That was something new, something wonderful." HFY gestured around the cultural center. "Now look what has grown from that moment. Dozens of species working together, learning from each other, creating new art and new friendships. We are honored that our celebration helped plant such seeds," Lithara added. After the couple left, Marcus and Seraphina continued to the central planning room where the festival's final preparations were taking place. The room held the most diverse group of beings Marcus had ever seen in one place, all working toward a common goal. "Sometimes I still cannot believe this is real," Seraphina said softly. "What part?" All of it. Us. This program. The fact that my people are learning to connect instead of just survive. She squeezed his hand. The fact that I found someone who makes me feel complete instead of hungry. Marcus squeezed back. I know what you mean. 6 months ago, I thought the best I could do was help prevent diplomatic incidents. I never imagined I could help create something like this. What do you think will happen next? Serafina asked. Marcus looked around at aliens from across the galaxy working together, sharing ideas, creating new forms of art and communication that had never existed before. I think we are just getting started, he said. The festival took place the following week. For 7 days, Zerion Prime was transformed into a celebration unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Species that had been enemies for centuries danced together. New forms of music were created by combining impossible sounds and frequencies. Art installations grew organically as different aliens contributed their unique perspectives. The highlight was the grand Unity dance on the final night. What had started as Marcus teaching Serafina to waltz on a moonlit terrace had evolved into something that included representatives from over 100 species. The energy created was so powerful that it could be felt throughout the space station. Standing in the center of it all, still dancing with Serafina as they had that first night, Marcus realized that Director Walsh had been wrong about one thing. Humans were not emotionally chaotic, they were emotionally generous. And in a galaxy full of species trying to survive alone, that generosity was exactly what everyone had been waiting for. As the dance reached its peak and the combined energy of 100 different species created a light show that could be seen from space, Marcus thought about how one wedding invitation had changed everything. He had attended an alien wedding as a simple cultural liaison. But he was leaving as something new, a bridge between worlds, a teacher of connection, and the partner of someone who understood that love was the most powerful force in any galaxy. And as Serafina spun in his arms under the light of artificial stars, surrounded by friends from across the universe, Marcus Chen smiled and knew that this was only the beginning of their dance together. The music played on, and the galaxy danced with them, one step at a time toward a future where being different was not a barrier but a gift to be shared with joy.